Across the world, some nations lay the dead gently into the earth, entrusting the soil to guard their rest. Others, however, go beyond burial, silencing voices, erasing traces, and sealing away truths that were never meant to be spoken. Yet no silence is ever perfect. Every hush conceals a secret, and every secret waits restless for the moment it is forced back into the light. In the dusty outskirts of a forgotten town, where the sun beat down mercilessly on cracked earth, lived a young man named Hari. At 25 years old, he carried the burdens of a life steeped in hardship. His days began before dawn, as he trudged to the roadside where he set up his modest polishing stall. With a worn cloth and a tin of polish, he shined shoes, pots, and whatever scraps people brought him. The coins he earned were meager, barely enough to buy a handful of rice or a loaf of stale bread. His small shack, pieced together from rusted sheets and bamboo, housed not just him but his ailing father, Umar. Umar had once been a strong laborer, hauling bricks at construction sites until his body betrayed him. For months now, he lay confined to a thin mat on the dirt floor, racked by a relentless fever. His coughs echoed through the night like thunder, and his skin grew pale and clammy. Hari watched helplessly as his father's condition deteriorated. Doctors were a luxury they couldn't afford. Even the local herbalist demanded payment up front. "Just a little more time, Abu," Hari would whisper, feeding him weak soup made from whatever scraps he could scavenge. The neighbors pitied them, but offered little help. Hari's mother had passed years ago, leaving him to shoulder the responsibility alone. He dreamed of a better life, perhaps moving to the city for steady work, but reality anchored him. Each evening, returning home with blistered hands and an empty stomach, he prayed for a miracle. But miracles were for the fortunate. One fateful day, as the sun dipped low, Hari finished his last job, a pair of worn boots from a passing merchant. Pocketing a few coins, he hurried home, hoping to buy some medicine. Little did he know, the shadows of tragedy were already lengthening over his humble abode. As night fell, the air grew thick with unspoken fears. Hari's heart ached with worry, but he pushed on, unaware that this would be the beginning of a nightmare that would test his very soul. Hari's life revolved around a fragile routine, one that frayed a little more each day under the strain of his father's illness. Umar's bedridden state had transformed their shack into a chamber of despair. The old man's breaths came in ragged gasps, punctuated by fits of coughing that left flecks of blood on his handkerchief. Hari spent his scant earnings on basic remedies, boiled herbs and cheap tonics from the market, but nothing stemmed the tide of Umar's decline. "Why me, son?" Umar would murmur in his lucid moments, his eyes clouded with pain. Hari's days blurred into a monotonous grind. Rising at dawn, he polished items under the relentless sun, his mind wandering to memories of better times. He recalled Umar teaching him to fish in the nearby river, their laughter echoing over the water. Now that river seemed a distant dream. At noon, Hari would rush home during his break, forcing Umar to eat whatever he could afford. The old man grew thinner, his bones protruding like brittle branches. Neighbors whispered about evil spirits or curses, but Hari dismissed them as superstition. He believed in hard work, not fate. One evening, as Hari returned with a small vial of medicine, he found Umar delirious, muttering incoherently about ghosts from his past. "They're coming for me," he rasped, clutching Hari's hand. The young man stayed up all night, wiping his father's brow and praying silently. Exhaustion weighed on him like a heavy cloak, but love kept him vigilant. The next morning, Umar seemed slightly better, managing a weak smile. Hari clung to that hope, heading back to his stall with renewed determination. Yet deep down, fear gnawed at him. What if he couldn't save his father? The thought haunted his every step. As the days passed, Umar's condition worsened again, his body a vessel of unending suffering. Hari's earnings dwindled with fewer customers, and desperation crept in. He began skipping meals to save for more medicine, his own health fading. Little did he know, the end was nearer than he imagined, and it would plunge him into a darkness far beyond mere poverty. The sun hung low on the horizon as Hari wrapped up his work for the day. His hands ached from hours of scrubbing and polishing, but his mind was fixed on home. He had managed to scrape together enough for a bit of bread and some herbs, perhaps enough to ease Umar's pain for one more night. The road back was familiar, lined with thorny bushes and the occasional stray dog. As he approached the shack, an unnatural quiet settled over the air. No coughs greeted him, no weak calls for water. Pushing open the creaky door, Hari's heart skipped a beat. Umar lay still on his mat, his chest unmoving. "Abu," Hari whispered, dropping his bundle and rushing to his side. He shook the old man's shoulder gently, then more urgently. No response. Umar's eyes stared blankly at the ceiling, his skin cold to the touch. Death had claimed him silently, slipping in like a thief while Hari toiled away. Shock rooted Hari to the spot. His mind reeled, memories flooding back. Umar's stories by the fire, his guidance through tough times. Now he was gone. Tears blurred Hari's vision as he collapsed beside the body, sobs racking his frame. The weight of loss crushed him, amplified by their isolation. No family to mourn with, no friends to console. As grief gave way to practicality, panic set in. Burial rites required money, cloth for shrouding, a coffin, hired help. Hari searched his pockets. A few coins, not even enough for a simple grave. The village cemetery demanded fees, and without them, Umar might be left unburied. A disgrace. Hari couldn't bear that. He paced the shack, mind racing. Waiting for dawn meant risking discovery and shame. No, he decided. He would handle it himself under cover of night. As stars dotted the sky, Hari wrapped Umar in an old sheet, his father's frail body light in his arms. Tears streamed down his face as he prepared to carry him out. The graveyard wasn't far, but the journey felt eternal. With a final glance at their home, Hari stepped into the darkness, the burden of love and duty heavy on his shoulders. The night air was cool and thick with the scent of earth as Hari hoisted his father's wrapped body onto his shoulder. Umar felt unnaturally light, a hollow shell of the man he once was. Hari's muscles strained under the weight, not just physical but emotional. He whispered apologies into the wind, regretting every moment he couldn't provide better. The path to the graveyard wound through shadowy fields, illuminated only by a sliver of moon. Each step echoed his isolation. The village slept unaware of his solitary procession. Crickets chirped mockingly, and distant howls sent chills down his spine. Hari's mind wandered to superstitions he'd heard, tales of restless souls wandering at night. He shook them off. This was necessity, not folklore. The graveyard loomed ahead, its iron gate creaking in the breeze like a warning. Slipping through the entrance, Hari laid Umar gently on the ground. The cemetery was a maze of weathered stones, overgrown with weeds. He had no tools but his hands and a small shovel scavenged from home. Choosing a spot near the edge, away from prying eyes, he began digging. The soil was hard, resisting his efforts. Sweat poured down his face, mixing with tears. As the hole deepened, strange sounds pierced the silence. Whispers like wind through leaves, but no breeze stirred. Hari paused, heart pounding. Just imagination, he muttered, resuming his labor. The grave took shape slowly, each shovelful a testament to his grief. Finally, deep enough, he lowered Umar in, arranging the sheet with care. He recited a hurried prayer, his voice trembling. Covering the body with earth felt final, each layer sealing away a piece of his heart. When finished, Hari stood back, exhausted and numb. The mound looked crude, unmarked. He turned to leave, but a faint voice seemed to call from behind. "Son." He froze, dismissing it as wind. The gate awaited, but as he neared it, an eerie chill enveloped him. Little did he know, the night had only begun its terrors. With the grave filled and smoothed as best he could, Hari wiped the dirt from his hands, his body aching from the ordeal. The moon cast long shadows over the tombstones, turning the graveyard into a labyrinth of the forgotten. He longed for the safety of his shack to collapse and mourn in peace, but as he trudged toward the gate, peculiar noises began to assail him. Soft rustlings, like footsteps on dry leaves, though the ground was bare. He quickened his pace, attributing it to fatigue. Digging had been grueling. His mind was playing tricks. Yet, the sounds grew. Faint murmurs, indistinguishable words echoing from the graves. Hari glanced back, seeing nothing but stillness. Focus, he told himself, nearing the exit. But then a clear voice cut through. "Hari, don't leave me." He spun around, breath catching. The graveyard was empty, the fresh mound undisturbed. "Abu," he whispered, heart racing. It had to be his imagination, born of grief. Shaking his head, he reached the gate, only to find it jammed shut. He tugged desperately, but it wouldn't budge. Panic rose. How could it close on its own? The lock was rusted, unyielding. The main gate was sealed, its pointed spikes too treacherous to climb. The only other exit lay on the far side, requiring a trek through the heart of the cemetery. Hari hesitated, the whispers intensifying around him. Swallowing fear, he turned inward, weaving between headstones. The air grew colder, unnatural for the season. Deeper in, the sounds evolved. Sobs, laughter, pleas. One grave seemed to shift slightly. dirt trickling down. Hari's pulse thundered. "This isn't real," he muttered, pressing on. Shadows danced unnervingly, as if alive. He stumbled over roots, scraping his knees, but didn't stop. The far gate shimmered in the distance, a beacon of escape. Yet as he advanced, a figure appeared ahead. A man hunched on the ground, head buried in his knees. Crying softly, he rocked back and forth. Compassion overrode fear. Hari approached cautiously. "Are you all right?" he asked, placing a hand on the man's shoulder. The figure stilled, then slowly turned his head, unnaturally far, revealing a face twisted in horror, eyes glowing red. Hari recoiled in terror as the man's head swiveled impossibly, his neck cracking like dry twigs. The face staring back was a nightmare. Skin pale as bone, eyes bulging and bloodshot, mouth stretched in a perpetual scream. Jagged teeth gleamed in the moonlight, and a foul stench emanated from him, like rotting earth. "Help! Me!" The figure rasped, voice gurgling as if from underwater. Hari's legs buckled, the ground seeming to tilt beneath him. This couldn't be human. He scrambled back, heart hammering against his ribs. The man, or whatever it was, rose slowly, limbs jerking unnaturally. Hari turned and fled, weaving through the graves, his breath coming in gasps. The whispers amplified, now a chorus mocking his flight. He ducked behind a large tree, pressing against its bark, trying to quiet his panting. Peering out, he saw the figure shuffling away, but the relief was short-lived. From the shadows emerged a small child no older than 5, skipping playfully among the tombstones. Innocence in such a place seemed wrong. The boy paused, turning toward Hari with a smile that chilled his blood, eyes hollow, skin translucent. Before Hari could react, a woman appeared behind the child, her sari flowing like mist. She called out softly, "Come back, my love." The boy giggled and vanished into thin air, leaving the woman alone. She glided forward, her movements graceful yet eerie. Hari froze as she neared, her face obscured by a veil. A gust of wind whipped through, lifting the cloth and revealing horror. Half her head was missing, skull exposed and crumbling, one eye dangling from its socket. The other side was eerily beautiful, but the asymmetry made her monstrous. She reached out with bony fingers, whispering, "Join us." Hari's scream lodged in his throat. He bolted again, the woman's laughter echoing behind him. Dodging graves, he tripped over an open pit, tumbling in. Dirt walls enclosed him, the scent of decay overwhelming. Above, the woman loomed, her half-face grinning. She began pushing soil in, burying him alive. Hari clawed at the sides, screaming for help, as darkness closed in. Trapped in the open grave, Hari's world narrowed to suffocating dirt and terror. The woman hovered at the edge, her mangled form silhouetted against the moon. With unnatural strength, she shoveled earth down, each clump hitting him like a blow. "Stay with us forever," she hissed, her voice a blend of seduction and malice. Hari thrashed, fingers digging into the walls, but the soil crumbled, pulling him deeper. Panic surged as memories flashed. His father's gentle smile, their shared hardships. "No," he cried, kicking wildly. The grave seemed to swallow him, the ground alive and hungry. His lungs burned from dust, vision blurring. Just as despair gripped him, a glimmer appeared, a pale hand extending from the shadows below. It wasn't the woman's. This one was familiar, wrinkled with age. Umar's hand? Impossible. Yet, instinct took over. Hari grasped it firmly, feeling a surge of strength. The hand pulled with surprising force, hoisting him upward. He scrambled over the edge, collapsing on solid ground. Gasping, he looked back. The pit was empty, the woman gone, vanished like smoke. The graveyard fell silent. The whispers hushed. Hari's mind reeled. Had it been a hallucination? No. The dirt on his clothes, the scratches on his skin, they were real. And that hand, it had saved him. Trembling, he rose, the far gate now visible and open. He stumbled toward it, every step a victory over fear. Emerging into the night, Hari glanced back one last time. The cemetery looked ordinary, but he knew better. Racing home, tears streamed down his face. Reaching his shack, he barred the door, collapsing in exhaustion. As dawn broke, realization dawned. The hand was his father's, guiding him even in death. Grief mingled with gratitude, but questions lingered. What spirits haunted that place? Why him? Sleep claimed him, but nightmares persisted. Faces in the dark, voices calling. Little did Hari know, this was only the beginning. The graveyard secrets would draw him back, unraveling truths about his past and the restless dead. Days blurred into a haze for Hari after that fateful night. He returned to his polishing stall, but his hands shook and customers noticed his distant gaze. Sleep evaded him, haunted by visions of the half-faced woman and the twisted man. The child's laughter echoed in his ears, a cruel reminder. He avoided the graveyard path, taking longer routes home, but the pull was undeniable. One evening, curiosity, or madness, drove him back. Standing at the gate under twilight, he whispered, "Abu, why?" A breeze stirred, carrying faint murmurs. Steeling himself, he entered, retracing his steps to Umar's grave. The mound was undisturbed, but as he knelt, the ground trembled slightly. Whispers rose again, clearer now. Names, pleas, accusations. Hari dug into memories. Umar had rarely spoken of his youth, hinting at a troubled past in a distant village. Rumors of a family curse, debts unpaid. Could that explain the spirits? As night deepened, shadows lengthened. The twisted man appeared again, but this time, he didn't attack, merely watched, eyes pleading. Emboldened, Hari approached. "Who are you?" The figure rasped, betrayed, by kin. Images flooded Hari's mind. Umar as a young man, involved in a dispute, leaving a brother to die. Guilt. The vision faded, leaving Hari reeling. Was his father tormented in death? Deeper in, the child and woman materialized. The boy pointed accusingly. "He took our home." The woman's half-face wept tears of blood. Another vision. Eviction. A fire. Lives lost. Umar's doing. Hari staggered back, piecing together a dark legacy. His father wasn't the saint he remembered. As he fled toward the gate, the spirits converged, blocking his path. "Repay the debt," they chanted. Hari's heart pounded. He wasn't ready, but Umar's hand emerged from the earth once more, parting the apparitions. "Go, son. Forgive me." Escaping, Hari vowed to uncover the truth. Old village records, elders' tales. He would seek them. The graveyard wasn't just haunted. It held his family's sins. The nightmare continued, drawing him into a web of atonement. Driven by revelations, Hari delved into his father's past. He visited elders in the village, their wrinkled faces lighting with recognition at Umar's name. "Ah, the wanderer," one said, puffing on a pipe. Stories unfolded. Umar had fled his hometown after a deadly feud. He and his brother vied for inheritance, leading to a fatal accident, or murder. The brother died in a collapse, buried hastily. Umar took the land, sold it, and vanished, cursing the family line. The spirits they claimed were victims, the twisted man Umar's brother, warped by betrayal, the woman and child, displaced tenants who perished in poverty. "The dead demand justice," the elder warned. Hari's blood ran cold. His poverty, Umar's illness, part of the curse? That night, armed with knowledge, Hari returned to the graveyard. "I seek amends," he called into the void. The gate swung open invitingly. Whispers guided him to a forgotten section where overgrown graves bore familiar names. Kneeling at his uncle's marker, Hari apologized, promising restitution, perhaps donating earnings to the poor. The twisted man appeared, form softening, too late for words. The ground shook, spirits rising, the woman lunging, child clawing. Hari fought back, reciting prayers. As they overwhelmed him, dragging him toward an open grave, despair peaked. But Umar's spirit manifested fully this time, not just a hand, but a translucent figure. "Enough," "The dead is mine." A spectral battle ensued, Umar wrestling the entities. Light flared, banishing them temporarily. "Son, break the cycle. Help the living." Hari escaped, vowing action. He began small acts, aiding widows, feeding orphans with his meager income. The nightmares lessened, but the curse lingered. One final confrontation loomed. The woman's grave held the key, a hidden artifact binding the souls. As Hari prepared, gathering courage, he realized atonement wasn't easy. The graveyard called once more, promising closure or doom. His journey through horror had transformed him, from a grieving son to a seeker of redemption. With resolve hardened, Hari entered the graveyard one last time, a lantern in hand and a pouch of offerings, flowers, incense, coins for the poor. The air hummed with anticipation, spirits sensing his intent. He navigated to the woman's grave, marked faintly as lost souls. Digging carefully, he unearthed a rusted locket. Inside, faded photos of the family Umar had wronged. Holding it aloft, Hari spoke. "I return what was taken. Forgive us." The ground quaked, the woman materializing fully, her form restoring to wholeness. Tears streamed down her restored face. "Justice." At last, the child appeared, hugging her, both fading into light. The twisted man nodded, dissolving peacefully. Umar's spirit emerged, smiling sadly. "You freed us all, son. Live well." He placed an ethereal hand on Hari's shoulder, warmth spreading through him. The curse lifted, the whispers silenced forever. As dawn broke, Hari left the graveyard, the gate closing gently behind. Back home he felt renewed. His polishing business flourished inexplicably. Customers flocked, earnings grew. He used the surplus to help others, honoring the dead. Years passed. Hari married, had children, sharing tales of redemption, not horror. The graveyard became a place of peace, where he visited Umar's grave annually, leaving flowers. No more hauntings, only memories. Yet in quiet moments, Hari wondered if spirits truly rested. The night had taught him, poverty breeds desperation, but love and atonement conquer darkness. His father's hand had guided him, a final act of paternal care. The story ended not in fear, but hope, a testament to facing shadows within and without.